Hello everyone, Moon Envoy here, and today we are actually going to be going back in time and playing Dragon Age Origins, the first game in the Dragon Age series. I wanted to go ahead and play this so that you can kind of get an idea of what was going on in my past history. In my Dragon Age Inquisition game, I'm going to be trying to play this game as close to my world state that I have for Dragon Age Inquisition as possible. There might be one or two differences, but I'm going to make sure that the main choices are the same, so that this is basically the backstory of the Warden and Hawk for the Dragon Age Inquisition series that I am playing. So I hope you guys will enjoy. Thank you for watching. So once again, this is the very first game in the Dragon Age series. I am playing it on the PlayStation 3. And this will give you an idea of what sort of history is going on in Dragon Age Inquisition. Plus, I've been wanting to replay the original games as well, because I enjoy all three of the Dragon Age games. So is the Golden City blackened with each step you take in my hall. Marvel at perfection, for it is fleeting. You have brought sin to heaven and doom upon all the world. That is from the Chantry.
The Chantry teaches us that it is the hubris of men which brought the Darkspawn into our world. The mages had sought to usurp heaven, but instead they destroyed it.
That's why mages are from.
They were cast out, twisted and cursed by their own corruption. They returned as monsters, the first of the Darkspawn. They became a blight upon the lands, unstoppable and relentless. The Dwarven kingdoms were the first to fall, and from the deep roads, the Darkspawn drove at us again and again, until finally we neared annihilation. Men and women from every race, warriors and mages, barbarians and kings. The Grey Wardens sacrificed everything to stem the tide of darkness and prevail. It has been 4 centuries since that victory, and we have kept our vigil. We have watched and waited for the Darkspawn to return. But those who once called us heroes have forgotten.
Yeah, if you read some of the books,
we are few now, and our warnings have been ignored for too long.
Welcome in Ferelden. They vaguely explain it in this series, but the books give a lot more.
It may even be too late, for I have seen with my own eyes what lies on the horizon. Maker, help us all.
Alright, so in this first game, you actually, your choice of character has a lot more impact on the story, and in fact determines the entire, beginning part of the game. So choosing your race and class has a lot more weight, I think, in this game than, either of the other games. In Dragon Age 2, you actually don't get to choose your race. Which I know some people were disappointed with, but I think that that one had a concise enough story that being able to choose different races would have only made it more confusing and bogged down. But that was one complaint I heard of Dragon Age Inquisition, is that you didn't get sort of the backstory of your character the way you do in this one, which you will see. So my character, this is the warden that is in the world state for my Dragon Age Inquisition game. I did play a female warden, and she was a dwarf. Dwarves cannot be mages, as you can see here. Dwarves are unable to access magic, and in fact can't even dream, since dreams are closely tied with magic. So you can only choose to be a warrior or a rogue. Rogues have benefits to dexterity, willpower, and cunning, which, as I mentioned in one of my Inquisition videos, indicates that they have higher critical hit skills, higher hit rates, and are more likely to avoid attacks. And then the willpower is how many different skills can be used. The warrior has benefits to strength, constitution, which is your defense and health, and then dexterity, which is also the hit rate for warriors. And I cannot show you the benefits of being a mage because, as I mentioned before, dwarves are not mages. And as I mentioned before, I'm not really a hand-to-hand combat specialist. I know this is kind of going to be boring being the same class in both Dragon Age games, but I'm probably going to make this dwarf an archer as well, although I may also give her some two-handed skills as well if she does end up in close combat, which means that I'm going to make her a rogue. Although in this game you can actually be an archer as either a warrior or a rogue. But I'm going to stick with the rogue. Plus, she is the dwarf commoner, and I think it is highly likely that a dwarf commoner, who are the very bottom of society, would be a rogue rather than a warrior, because they don't really have a lot of class to go off of. So she's going to be a commoner. So she's born Casteless in a land where rank is everything. She's the lackey and thug of a local crime lord, and in this game we'll finally get the chance to prove herself, and show that maybe this caste system is not all it is cracked up to be. Alright, so now we get to pick the name. I'm going to go ahead and name her, let's see. Oops. That's what I wanted. I'm going to name her Davia. Your name doesn't really impact much in this game, as everyone simply calls you the Grey Warden or the Warden. So regardless of what name you pick, the game never actually refers to you as such. The only place you see it is on the profile screen. So not really much to do with naming the character. Alright.
Greetings.
So now we get to choose what our character looks like. So there are a couple of presets that we can choose between. and then modify from there. So I think I'm going to use this as my preset. And then once again, you can do a lot of effects to change their appearance. Once again, I will try not to spend too much time playing with these presets, but I do enjoy the character creation screens, so forgive me for spending a bit of time here. Once again, these games seem to favor heavily on the eyeshadow to start with. You'll notice that she has to have the one tattoo. Well, she doesn't have to, you can. But this tattoo is actually really important to the story, as that marks her as Casteless. So I definitely want to make sure she has that tattoo. You're gonna go ahead and have her. She's added a bit to her tattoo, I think, but it has faded with time. Alright, so there's for skin. Next is her hair. A lot of hairstyles in this game are shorter, although this is obviously a long hairstyle just tied up really well. There's one that's tied back in a ponytail. There is a longer ponytail. There it is, tied up in a bun. I actually kind of like the short hair. Not that short. That original hair color she came with. I do think I am going to change it from red hair mostly because there's already a major character in this game with red hair, and I don't really feel like competing with her, so we're going to go with, I think, blonde this time around. Her eyebrows are fine. Alright. So her eye color. I like gray eyes, because they're so unusual. I think her nose is fine, her lips are fine. That's fine. I like the shape of her face. Her portrait. I like the black background. And then we get to choose a voice. Oh, sorry, that was my dog. It's alright, Ella. You're fine. Sorry, she barks whenever somebody passes by the window, because she's a bit of a guard dog. All 12 pounds of her are very intimidating. So in this game, you choose a voice. This voice only activates during combat. She will say things when she is attacking enemies, but it doesn't really have much impact on the story, because in this game, the characters do not talk during the cutscenes. So we have the wise voice.
I have lost concentration.
Cocky.
How do you do?
Damn, lost the spell.
Which is funny hearing a dwarf say that when they cannot be mages. The experienced voice.
Greetings. That didn't work.
Smart.
Greetings. I cannot cast it!
Sultry.
Charmed. It didn't work. Well now, this does nothing.
And then violent.
Greetings. Oh, my spell! My weapon does nothing.
So, this sort of, a lot of the things that they say are the same, but there are some comments that are made in battle that are specific to one or the other, type of voice. Like the sultry voice will make some comments that are, rather sexual in nature. Not explicitly sexual, but she does make some comments. The violent voice will say more, aggressive comments. The cocky will be arrogant in battle, and so on. So I think our dwarven commoner is going to, once again, has grown up on the streets all her life, so I'm going to go ahead and leave her with the violent voice.
You're in my way.
Alright, and I think we are good. Now you get baseline. As mentioned before, her top stats are dexterity and cunning. Just a quick go through each of these. Strength is the physical prowess and determines how much damage your character deals in physical combat, and will also affect accuracy. This is really good for warriors, and is really important for rogues, so I'll probably definitely want to put some points into strength. Dexterity is agility, reflexes, and balance. This determines the likelihood that your character will land a hit and also dodge incoming blows. For weapons like daggers or arrows, this skill also contributes to your damage as well as strength, so that's why this is a really important skill for rogues to have. Willpower determines how much stamina you have to use special techniques and special attacks for warriors and rogues, and it is really vital for mages as it is their magic pool and determines how much magic they can use. And then magic itself is of course really important for mages as it determines how much magical damage they can deal. And other classes, it determines how effective potions and other items are on them, which can be useful but isn't nearly as important as the other skills for non-mages. Cunning is necessary for rogues to learn a lot of abilities, as a number of the abilities that rogues can learn are locked to whether you have a specific cunning skill. In addition, there are points in the game where you can influence people with your words, and if you have a high cunning stat, that can allow you to basically trick the people you are talking to into believing what you want. And finally, we have Constitution. Constitution directly affects the amount of health you have, and your resilience. So this affects the damage that you take, how much damage and how much damage you can take before falling. So that is also a good skill. So I have 5 points that I can add in. So I'm going to go ahead and put, let's put a point in strength. Definitely want to boost up cunning. My health. Dexterity is always good to have. And I think I'm going to put a second point into probably into dexterity right now. 'Cause I should be okay without a huge amount of cunning just yet. As I still need to learn other skills. So now I get to choose a skill The skills include coercion. This is the ability to persuade enemies and allies in dialogue checks. So that is really good. Stealing. I already have one stealing. I can upgrade my stealing. This allows me to better basically steal from other characters, as it says. Trap making allows you to construct traps, which you can lay on the battlefield and hopefully damage enemies or hold enemies in place using those. Survival. This affects your nature resistance, as some mages use nature magic, and also can affect things that have to do with animals. Herbalism allows you to make potions, poultices and salves, which are all of the healing items and items that grant boost. Poison making, which is sort of the opposite of herbalism. This allows you to make poisons, grenades, basically potions that deal damage to your enemies. Combat training. Combat training allows you to access higher level skills and abilities later on in the series. And then tactics allows you to add additional tactics characters as needed. So I am going to go ahead. I usually put at least 1 point in coercion right away, because there are, even at the very beginning, some checks that you can, dialogue checks that you can get through if you have even just basic coercion right from the beginning. So now we're going to choose our talent. There are some talents that are specific to rogue. These include the dirty fighting talent, which I already come with as a rogue. Below the belt, which allows you to damage your opponent's leg, which can affect their defense and their movement speed. Lock picking, which allows you to get into lock checks and things of that nature. And then stealth, which is a skill that you've seen me use in Dragon Age Inquisition, which allows me to basically cover myself so that enemies do not notice me. We also have abilities that are specific to dual wielding, which is one of the skills that a rogue has, and then archery is the other one. And as I said, I prefer being an archer, so I'm probably going to put 1 point into an archery talent. I personally like pinning shots, because it allows me to restrict the movement of an enemy, which is always useful. And then I think I'm going to put my other points into death hands. Alright, we're going to go once again with the hard difficulty. And now we can finally get started. And because I chose Dwarf Commoner, as I mentioned before, I'm going to have an entirely different opening scene than if I had picked an elf or a human, or even if I had chosen Dwarf Commoner.
Deep beneath the Frostback Mountains sits Orzammar, largest and proudest of the 2 remaining dwarven cities. Once the seat of an underground empire, Orzammar now stands alone, cut off from the world by the Darkspawn, still clinging to the memory of its former glory. Below the vast statues and gilded halls where the noble families play at politics, the lower castes live in their shadows, scurrying to serve like their ancestors before them. Below that is you. You are Casteless, the dirty secret staining Orzammar's perfect society, forced, along with your sister, to sell your services to the crime lord Barat. To the rest of Orzammar, you are proof that the Casteless deserve their fate. But you know you do what you have to, the same as everyone, just to survive.
I can't keep gambling on you forever, Precious. You've got a sweet look, something to light a man on fire. but you gotta make it count.
Please, Barat. I don't want to do this in front of my sister.
Why not? She knows the slope of the land, don't you, girl?
Rather than telling you the tone and just giving you a brief sort of indication of what you are going to say. I know some people prefer this as sometimes you think you are saying one thing in the second and third game and it comes out completely different, which can be a little bit frustrating. I know I've had that issue in Inquisition where I've tried to be aggressive with the character, and he's sort of come across as kind of timid or whiny, which is not what I expected. But overall, I don't really have a strong preference on this. I think that both have pluses and minuses, and I do like that it's usually going to actually get hear your character say the words rather than simply reading. So now we get to sort of set the tone for our Dwarven commoner. We can agree with this sort of seedy character. We can defend our sister and be aggressive. We can be very grateful to this character and submissive. And then we can be really aggressive toward our sister. I think that my particular character is she's doing things that she doesn't want to because she has to survive, but deep down she has a good heart. So I think of these four options, she is going to want to protect her sister.
You told me a lot of things, not one of which meant more than a fart in the middens. Before me, your sister was just another duster. Now check her out. Braids down to here, gold-capped teeth. She can recite elf poetry and play the string harp. Every man's dream. All she's got to do is find a lord, squeeze out some kid who looks like him, and we're all living the easy life in the Diamond Quarter.
Please, don't get involved. You know that never goes well.
And it looks like defending her did not go particularly well, so, but I still think that I'm going to keep defending her as much as I can.
I'll treat her however I like, as long as you both eat off my plate. You keep your head down and say aye to any job I decide is low enough for scum like you.
Yeah, definitely a
In
seedy
return,
character.
I put out coins so you can doll yourself up and get a belly full of some nobleman's brats. Then you both go free, and I get to join the family and be called my lord for the rest of the little prince's life.
Right, so for those of you who don't know, caste in Dwarven society is determined by the same-sex parent. So basically what he's doing is he's having my sister try to seduce some nobleman in the hopes that she will have a son who would then be of noble caste, despite her being casteless, because he would take on the rank of his father, which would then get us out of being casteless because we would be raised up with her son. And that is one of the ways out of being low caste in Dwarven society. So I think I'm also going to be a little snarky since I don't particularly like this guy.
That's what everyone likes. A casteless with a big mouth. But I didn't come for the joy of your company. I've been looking at my investments, and this one hasn't borne much gold. I'm giving you another week, Precious. If you haven't found a patron, you're back to sweeping streets.
But I have. I've met someone. That is, I didn't want to promise, but he seemed interested.
Okay, so looks like my sister may have found a nobleman to be her patron, meaning he will support her and hopefully recognize any son that she has. So now the question is, once again, how do I respond? And once again, I do not like this guy, so I am going to respond with the first response. So get off her back and tell me my job for today.
Your buddy Lesky's waiting outside. He knows what I'll need from you today. Don't even think about bungling this job. Your whole family's on loose sand with me right now. And I know you don't have anywhere else to turn.
I'm sorry you had to see that.
So I can't stand the way he treats us, because he's a creep, and we deserve better.
Just be careful about showing him. You've been lucky so far. He thinks it's funny when you and Lesky get vulgar. Some of the nobles I've met, they'd as soon have your head for speaking your mind. That's why I didn't tell you. Barat's been warning me ever since 2 of his other girls found patrons at Lord Harrowmont's reception. They've been getting gifts already. Lord Rooston gave Elsie a surface silk gown and she's not even pregnant. Barat's getting impatient.
So it sounds like she is feeling impatient too. So I think I could respond with either 2 or 4. I'm not gonna straight out tell her not to stop working for him because I know she wouldn't agree to that in the first place, but isn't the work I do for Barat enough?
You've worked hard to keep him from throwing us out. I can only imagine the horrible things he's made you do. But there are a lot of desperate dwarves in Orzammar. He could buy any one of them to run messages and knock skulls.
So one thing that frustrates me about Dwarven society is they have Darkspawn pushing in on them at all times, and you'd think that they'd want all the help that they could get with Darkspawn. So why can't I join the army and fight the Darkspawn when they're such a threat?
It's sheer folly. One more way the nobles protect their status. They say Casteless soldiers are more danger to each other than to Darkspawn. That it's an insult to the smith to let us touch a fine-made weapon. Truly, they just don't wish to insult the warrior caste by showing that given the same opportunities, we could lead an army just as well.
So once again, Darkspawn are a serious threat, so haven't the Darkspawn almost overrun us? You would think they'd want any soldiers that they could get.
Every year, more of the beasts come up from the deep roads. I've heard they've even been harrying the surface.
And what are people doing about that?
Aye. They would even turn to humans for aid before us, it seems. There's been talk of an alliance against the Darkspawn. Even that the Grey Wardens have stepped up. But we don't have time for this now. Lesky must be waiting, and Barat won't like it if I'm late for my appointment.
Alright, it seems that my discussion with my sister isn't getting much further, so I'm going to go ahead and do my job and not worry my sister any more than I already have.
Stay out of trouble. I'll see you tonight.
Alright, so that is the opening for Dragon Age Origins with the Dwarf Commoner beginning with my warden Davia. I hope you guys enjoyed this first episode and look forward to seeing more soon. Thank you very much for watching and have a wonderful day.